Now, we've got new tyre pressure rules in effect this weekend, and we're anticipating that they'll have a significant impact on the race today. So for more on that, let's get to Larko.
Yeah, well, Jess, this is a really significant rule change for the weekend because tyres in our game are everything. I mean, it is the thing with a car that weighs 1,400 odd kilos that connects us to the road, right? Those 4 little contact patches are everything about performance. So for this weekend, we've had a little rule change which says that the minimum pressure that a tyre can be at any time that's out on the circuit, it's not 17 pound anymore, it's now 20 pound. Now, why is that important? Well, let's understand a couple of principles first. When you put air in a tyre and the air gets hotter as the tyre goes round and around, that air expands, right? Now, we don't even use air in our tyres, we use nitrogen. It's more stable than air and it doesn't expand as much, but it expands a lot. Now, if we go further, before we look at our tyre, here is the cross-section of our current tyre. And you'll notice the sidewalls of the tyre are incredibly flexible, right? And teams have worked out if you run really low tyre pressures, those flexible sidewalls allow the foot of the tyre that makes the contact to remain quite large. Now, let me show you that in these tools we've built. So here's our tyre. Might have, 6 or 7 degrees camber on it on the front of the tyre. That's there for grip. Now, if I come way back down here, this is the footprint of the tyre that I was talking along here, right? So, tyre contact patch. As we go up, right, our minimum pressure, about 20. Look at that, beautiful big foot on the road. But as we go out and we start doing laps, the pressure goes up, and watch this, and the contact patch reduces, gets smaller and smaller. Now, I reckon we're going to end up somewhere up around 27 or 28 in the race. And that's why they've done the 20 degree, or the 20 PSI thing, to force teams into this window where that's going to make the tyre slide around more, that area is going to get hotter, and the problem's going to compound, right? So it's very intentional. And it's also because, you can't go running really low pressures in a race tyre. That's just not, you can end up damaging the tyre, do that. So you can see what happens there. Now, when we look at it in the real world, we processed some data from last year's race and applied this year's figures onto it. What teams do, you see out the back here right now, teams will have tyres in the sun, heating them up, heating them up, heating them up. Now, the pressure will be going up and they're bleeding them down. I've showed you before out at the front of the garage. Tyres sitting there, they bleed them down and they keep bleeding them back to 20, back to 20, back to 20. So when they go out onto the grid and we have the national anthem and we're sitting out there for 20 minutes or whatever, those tyres are coming down and down and down. Now, they have a sensor in them that's beamed back to supercars, so they're monitoring every tyre in the pit lane or out on the grid, and if one of those tyres drops below 20 PSI, you're gone, you're in trouble, right? So you're going to get a drive-through penalty or similar. So I can tell you, they cut it fine. They'll be out there in the grid when they're just about ready to go. They'll be down at 20 point something. Now, then they do their formation lap, come around onto the grid. By then, they're going to be up around, you can see those pressures there, and you can see the temperatures. Now, as we go over a typical 15-lap stint, let's just watch these numbers. Here we go. Look at the numbers. So as the temperature goes up, you can see the pressure goes up, right? Now, that's the game, right? So now we've pushed teams into a corner where they're going to have to think, hang on, do I conserve the tyre? You've still got to drive the thing as fast as you can, but look after that contact patch. So that's why this is such a big issue, because 3 pound in our game is a lot. So no question about it. So when you think about it out there on the circuit today, they say in golf, be the ball, right? Well, I reckon the driver needs to be the tyre, feel the tyre. Looks easy, but it's difficult. Because I can assure you, on a race car, there's no one thing, engine, aerodynamics, driver, there is nothing I can do in the race to give my car more performance than improving its tyre performance.